National Social Protection Policy taken through final validation.
Effective implementation of mother tongue language policy discussed.
And in Guinea, EU observers speak on validity of polls. Live on GBC 24 and GTV, this is News Hour. My name is Shirley Annan.
And I'm Conrad Kakraba, and Robert Frimpomans is doing the sign language translation.
The Gender Ministry has taken the National Social Protection Policy through a final validation in Accra.
This is to allow for the necessary corrections to complete the document. The policy is expected to help reduce poverty, inequalities, and protect the extremely poor and vulnerable in the country.
The draft social protection strategy defines social protection as a set of transfers and services that help individuals and households confront risk and adversity and ensure a minimum standard of dignity and well-being throughout the life cycle. The policy is to protect and promote the socio-economic well-being of poor and vulnerable Ghanaians through improved targeting of beneficiaries. At the final validation meeting, a representative from UNICEF, Sarah Haig, said the policy will help Ghana to fulfill its constitutional duty to create a more suitable and poverty-free nation. The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, stressed on the need to implement the policy.
The goal of the policy is to have a well-coordinated intersectoral social protection system to ensure effective implementation and coordination, to ensure people in Ghana live in dignity through income support, livelihood empowerment, and improved systems of basic services.
She announced the launch next week of the Ghana National Household Registry, which will provide a single database of extremely poor households in the country.
The Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Do Ajaho, has appealed to the Gambian government to consider returning to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Mr. Ajaho said the presence of the West African neighbor is very important and its return will add strength to the association. This was during an interaction in Accra with his Gambian counterpart, Mr. Abdoulaye Boujan. Mr. Boujan is in Ghana for one of Parliament's Public Accounts Committee meetings. Also at the Speaker's office to bid goodbye to him was the outgoing Cuban ambassador to Ghana, George Lebenet Nicolas.
The relationship between Ghana and the Gambia was almost marred in 2005 following the murder of some 44 Ghanaians in that country. Despite this and other issues, the governments of both countries have worked hard to salvage the decades of relationship. The visit of the head of the Gambia's National Assembly is one of such efforts. Mr. Abdoulaye Boujan said his country considers Ghana one of its closest friends. He added that Ghana's parliament is one of the most active in Africa with a lot of experience, which makes it a good model.
We would like an official request to make for the two parliaments to work as almost a united bloc to serve our people better.
The Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Do Ajaho, said Ghana can tap from the rich tourism expertise of the Gambia. Mr. Do Ajaho said West African nations first need to deepen their relationship for a stronger African front.
That's the reason why it is important for us in international fora like the CPE. We should be there and speak with one voice. Your absence really is missing now, so I just want to take this opportunity of making a special plea that even though it's a decision that has been taken at the highest level, I've been told if it's possible for us to come to see how working together we can bring you back into the fold of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association.
Earlier, the outgoing Cuban ambassador Jorge Lefe Nicola called on the speaker to bid him farewell after a 4-year duty tour. The two agreed that both Cuba and Ghana have a lot in common and both countries can collaborate for mutual benefit.
At a time when public perception about the judicial system of Ghana is quite low due to the expose done by Anas Arimeyao Anas and his Tiger Eye PI team, showing some justices of the Supreme Court taking bribes, a retired justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Samuel Kofi Dateba, has launched a book entitled Reflections on the Supreme Court of Ghana. The book gives insights to the functions of the court while highlighting the importance of the court in addressing certain important issues such as the elections petition hearing.
Justice Samuel Kofi Dateba was born in 1943. He had a secondary education at the Achimota School from 1956 to 1962. He graduated with first-class LLB degree from the University of Ghana in 1965 and proceeded to the Yale Law School and the London School of Economics and graduated with an LLM in 1967 and a PhD in 1969. He was called to the bar in Ghana in 1969 and was a justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana from September 2003 to August 2013. Although Justice Dateba has written and published extensively on Ghanaian law, international commercial law, and public law, his book, Reflections on the Supreme Court of Ghana, focuses on his personal experiences on the bench. The book also touches on the role of the Supreme Court, the judicial processes of the court, and its importance as a supervisor of other courts, and highlighted some of the celebrated decisions of the Supreme Court. Justice Professor Samuel Kofi Dateba said he was motivated to write the 12-chapter book because of a desire to share some insights he gained while serving in the court.
Supreme Court also merits study on account of its other roles in our legal system. It has several other jurisdictions which need to be explained, particularly to the general public, but also to the legal profession. Thus, apart from examining the court's role as a constitutional court, the book also analyzes the Supreme Court's role as a supervisor of other courts.
Two personalities, Justice Jones Doche and Emeritus Professor Albert Fiajo, gave reviews of the book.
There's no doubt that Justice Dateba's book is not only a scholarly work, but also shows that he has given back to the judiciary, the legal profession as a whole, and indeed the Ghanaian society, the benefits of his deep learning, understanding of the law, and experience of the Supreme Court bench for a decade.
This book has done us a great deal of service by opening the Pandora's box and giving hope to the people of Ghana that our Supreme Court, like many of its counterparts in the world, also qualifies as a fair and impartial adjudicating body that deserves our respect, even if we disagree with their decisions from time to time.
Launching the book, the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Georgina Theodora Wood, who also wrote the foreword of the book, commended the author for sharing his thoughts on some of the intricacies of the Supreme Court at a time when the judicial system of Ghana is facing a corruption scandal.
Justice Dateba's book is indeed a breath of fresh air and a solemn reminder that a majority of Ghanaian judges are wonderful role models who have devoted a good part of their working lives to honest and dedicated public service on the bench.
The first copy of the book was sold for 15,000 Ghana cedis.
Experts in education have discussed at a meeting in Tamale the need to implement the mother tongue language policy in the country. The forum was organized by the Ghana Institute of Linguistics, Literacy and Bible Translation and funded by USAID.
For many, the existing language policy as it relates to the inclusion of the various Ghanaian languages has not been properly implemented. Indeed, The history of language policy of education in Ghana shows that the country is yet to fully and properly use Ghanaian languages as a medium of instruction in education, at least at the early grade level from kindergarten to primary 3. Essentially, the country has swung between English and the Ghanaian languages in the early years, which some say has had a negative effect on the local language since many prefer to use English. The executive director of the Ghana Institute of Linguistics, Literacy and Bible Translation, Dr. Paul Obukumensa, said mother tongue language is critical to the country making more progress to achieve development.
The concept of the Mother Tongue Cafe Dialogues is the framework within which this mobilization, feedback, and national conversation on the language policy will be undertaken. At the practical level, the concept of the Mother Tongue Cafe Dialogues is already in use, having been formally launched on February 1st, 2015 by the Minister of Education, Professor Jenana Nkwa as an advocacy platform for our languages.
In a submission, Professor Emeritus Pra said Ghana must guard her identity. He cautioned that any nation that does not protect and preserve its culture will encounter development problems. He says speaking in the mother tongue should be seen as a priority in the nation's development agenda.
When a society ceases to grow in language, then the society is dying. If the society is not able to cope with new expressions and words for scientific things, then the language of that society is dying. When a language dies, the people who speak that language also disappear into history. I don't mean that they physically, biologically disappear, but they become other people.
One of the victims of the accident involving some journalists near Takoradi yesterday, who is still on admission, is recovering and responding to treatment. A delegation from the Ghana Education Service, including the Deputy Minister of Education, Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, and the Chief Director, Enoch Kobina, were at the hospital to visit the victim on Tuesday morning and to ensure that maximum care was provided for him. On Monday, a group of journalists from Takoradi traveling to Bamiango in the Western region to cover the inauguration of the second free senior high school was involved in an accident on their way back to base in the evening. Two of them, Nanaya Obrimpong, who reports for Accra-based City FM, and a cameraman for Varsat 1 TV, who has since been discharged, got injured.
Risu, a farming community on the Kumasi-Accra Highway and hometown of the late Master Jeffrey Asari-Bediako, a third-year student of Prempeh College in Kumasi, was in a state of mourning following his reported death. Jeffrey died on arrival at the Komfuanochi Teaching Hospital after falling from the second floor of a three-story dormitory at the school.
It was the dream of Jeffrey Asari-Bediako's mother to give her son sound education for a good future. But this dream was dashed last Saturday when her 18-year-old son met his untimely death in school. He fell from the second floor of a three-story building with his roommate and died on arrival at the Komfuanochi Teaching Hospital. His friend, Kofi Tebri, narrowly escaped death but sustained serious injuries. Tebri is reported to have been discharged from the Komfuanochi Teaching Hospital the following day. GBC 24 followed up to Shreso, Jeffrey's hometown, where the family was mourning, especially his mother. Jeffrey's auntie described him as very gentle, God-fearing and shy. She said she was always studying and hoped to make the family proud someday.
Jeffrey was an indoor person who was always with his books.
The school looked almost deserted when GBC 24 got there, as most of the students were in class. The Opokuwari house is where the incident occurred. The chairman of the school's PTA, Mr. Anthony Oseipoku, and some board members, as well as some members of the general public, were at the school to sympathize with the headmaster and management. The assistant headmaster, Mr. Isaac Ejekum, who took the news team round, narrated the story to GBC 24.
2 of them fell from the last floor. They were having discussions. So one of the boys embraced the one who was sitting on the banister, and very unfortunately, the 2 of them fell from the top there.
The school's PTA chairman, Mr. Anthony Oseipoku, said the PTA and board are assessing the architectural designs of the building to see how to make the buildings safer.
We are trying to figure out what actually went wrong. So this morning we have spoken to the architects who supervise the project to come and have a second look if there's a need for us to do something about it.
We have business coming up. Do stay with us.
Good evening. By courtesy of EcoBank, Hisense and Airtel, let's do business. My name is Esther Adu. The National Investment Bank, NIB, will by the end of 2015 expand its branch networks to 44. The Managing Director of NIB, Mr. Ernest Agbesi, disclosed this when he launched the bank's SME Week celebration in Ashaiman. He said the expansion of their network is to bring SME banking closer to Ghanaians.
The National Investment Bank was the first development bank in Ghana established to promote and strengthen rapid industrialization in all sectors of the Ghanaian economy. The bank has over the years played this role distinctively, but now it operates as a universal bank in focusing on development and commercial banking activities. Another feature of NIB is its flagship SME banking. NIB has designed a number of products geared towards the development of SMEs in Ghana. Due to this, NIB has embarked on an expansion of its branch network and has established 6 new branches across the country. 8 more branches to their network by the end of 2015. The bank has set aside this week as the SME Week. The week will afford the bank the opportunity to interact with Ghanaian SMEs and market women about the products and services the bank has designed for their comfort. The bank started the celebrations with a float on the principal streets of Accra to drum home the need for Ghanaians to cultivate the culture of savings. After the float, they will then proceed to Ashaiman, a community dominated by SMEs, to officially launch the NIB SME Week. The branch manager at the Ashaiman NIB, Ramat Bella Waija, said they will use the week to deepen customer relations. The managing director NIB, Mr. Ernest Agbesi, said NIB has repositioned itself to focus more on SME banking.
Today we are able to approve and disburse your request for credit or loan within 2 working days. That is 48 hours. Our turnaround time has improved with respect to loan processing, but we are not even happy about this. We want to improve, and we are working to reduce this to same-day approval and disbursement if all supporting documents are in place.
The head, Retail and SME Banking, Yao Akosa Entry, outlined a number of policies the bank has put in place to support SME banking.
We have well-trained relationship managers who actually understand the business dynamics of every SME customer. We know that money is made in the markets, so we are trained such that we can always engage them and engage them accordingly. We don't even wait for them to actually come to us, but we even go to them, try to understand what they do and see how best we can supplement their efforts.
As part of its activities, the bank will train customers on the basic rules of business, such as book and record keeping, as well as visit customers to see how their businesses are growing.
Goldfields Ghana has paid dividends of $7 million to the government. a Deputy Finance Minister, Mrs. Monacote, lauded the company for consistently paying their dividends despite the challenges in the industry. Goldfields Ghana has operated in the country for over 2 decades. The government of Ghana has a 10% stake in the company. Early this year, the company presented a check of $4.5 million to government as dividend for 2014. Presenting a $7 million dividend to government, the Executive Vice President and Head of Goldfields West Africa, Mr. Alfred Baku, said the dividend presented to government makes up a total of $11.5 million presented as dividend this year.
This $7 million means that we actually declared 70 million. Because as I said, the Ghana government has got 10%. So if we are giving you 7 million, it means the total dividend that we actually declared is 70 million, of which 90 went to the Goldfields and 10 to the Ghana government.
The Deputy Minister for Finance, Mrs. Monacote, asked for companies to emulate Goldfields and promptly pay dividends to government.
In meeting with your market analysts and your investors, I know that the issue of the stabilization agreement continues to be top of the list. It is before Parliament. And when Parliament comes back from recess, it will be one of the priority issues that will be tackled. So I'm sure that soon we will have a template that all other gold mining companies that should have a stabilization agreement will have.
The Deputy Minister called for the mining companies to keep their costs down in spite of the challenges in order to stay in business. And that was business, but there's more news ahead. Keep watching.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the health segment, proudly brought to you by FPAC. My name is Ofuriwa Dakon. A stakeholder meeting in Accra stressed the importance of research in the health sector. The forum brought into focus the value of research to tackle health-related issues head-on.
Health experts say that progress in global health is mostly attributed to the creation, dissemination, and adoption of interventions to improve health services. And all these are achievable through strategic research by studying health problems and evaluating findings to properly address these concerns, especially in developing countries. The Research and Development Division of the Ghana Health Service in the past 3 years has conducted some key activities, including engaging program managers and the Ghana Health Service divisional heads on setting a research agenda to guide the conduct of research in the country. At a stakeholders meeting in Accra, the discussion was on some of the outcomes from the training of program teams across the country in implementation research on HIV/AIDS and tuberculosis. In an interview, the director of the Dodoa Health Research Center of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Margaret Japon, said Ghana needs a research agenda to actively identify gaps and solve problems in the health sector.
Ghana Health Service, we collect data, a lot of routine data. Somehow this data is not looked at a regular basis. So even if there are challenges, you may not notice it. So we are building capacity in different regional teams to regularly look at the data they collect.
Dr. Margaret Japon says partners in all sectors must be involved in research implementation to help Ghana achieve the sustainable development goals.
Still on health, globally 1 in 4 adults and 1 in 10 children are likely to have a mental health problem in any given year. This is according to statistics from the World Federation of Mental Health. The world marked Mental Health Day on the 10th of October, and the Mental Health Authority in Ghana is holding a series of activities as part of its Mental Health Week to raise awareness on what can be done to ensure that people with mental health conditions can continue to live with dignity. Thousands of people with mental health conditions around the world are deprived of their human rights. They are not only discriminated against, stigmatized, and marginalized, but are also subjected to emotional and physical abuse in both mental health facilities and the community. The theme for 2015 is Dignity in Mental Health.
You're welcome back now to some international news. Guinea's presidential election on Sunday was valid, but there were severe logistical difficulties, according to EU election observers. This comes after opposition called the vote fraudulent and demanded a rerun. They also threatened to protest, something the observers urged against. The final result is expected in the next few days. It was the country's second democratic presidential election since it gained independence from France in 1958. The EU's chief observer, Frank Engel, said he hoped Guineans remember this as a milestone in their young democratic institutions, but he also said there were many shortcomings, including problems with the voter registration. Mr. Engel added that the lack of transparency has led him to lose confidence in the Electoral Commission and that he would be watching to see the results were announced in a suitable way.
Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 crashed as a result of a Russian-made Buk missile, the Dutch Safety Board says. The missile hit the front left of the plane, causing other parts to break off, it said in a final report into the July 2014 disaster, which killed 298 people. The Western Ukraine say Russian-backed rebels brought down the Boeing 777, but Russia blames Ukrainian forces. The report does not say who fired the missile, but says airspace over eastern Ukraine should have been closed. The plane, flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, crashed at the height of the conflict between government troops and the pro-Russian separatists. Among the victims were 196 Dutch nationals and 10 Britons. Theophilos Sampa stands by with sports news.
Good evening. Let's update ourselves from happenings from the world of sports. I'm Theophilos Sampa. This is in partnership with Tobinco Pharmaceuticals Limited, producers of Lunat. To hockey, the head coach of the Ghana National Fire Service hockey team, the Extinguishers, Martha Solomon, says they will be contending for all trophies next season. Coach Solomon revealed this after her Chargers beat the defending champions of the knockout competition, Police Service, at the finals. The women's final of this year's Hockey Knockouts Championships was between Extinguishers of the Ghana National Fire Service and defending champions Police Ladies. In the 9th minute, Juanita Kowu opened the scoring for Extinguishers through a field goal, but Police grabbed the equalizer on the 70th minute through skipper Cecilia Ofui, which sent the tie into a penalty shuffle. Extinguishers won by 2-1.
Benjamin, and that is the first goal of the day in second start. Big Buffalo the first one. Everything is the second one. And the ball and move everybody under him. That is the Extinguishers. And ladies and gentlemen,
in the men's final played under floodlight, defending champions Trustees in the yellow jerseys clashed with Exchequers. The keenly contested final saw the first half ending in a pulsating 0-0 scoreline. Back from the break, Trustees talisman Johnny Booty unleashed a fierce drive to score to give Trustees the victory. Winners in all the divisions were presented with souvenirs and trophies. For trustees, it is their fifth trophy of the season. Here are reactions from some captains and coaches.
Since the beginning of the season, we said every cup that comes on our way, we are going to lift it up. And truly, we have been able to lift every cup.
I promise the people of Ghana and for fire service that we are going to bring in more laurels. We want to start the time that we were called 64 Regiment. We are going to start again. This is just the beginning. So everybody should be cautious. And they should, whenever they mention the name extinguishers, they should know that the bomb is coming.
Real Madrid forward Cristiano Ronaldo has collected a record fourth Golden Shoe award as Europe's top scorer for his 48-goal haul in La Liga last season. Ronaldo says he's more hungry for more goals. The Portugal captain and FIFA Ballon d'Or holder netted 61 times in all competitions in 2014-2015. Although Real missed out on 3 main titles as arch-rivals, Barcelona swept a treble of Champions League, La Liga and Kings Cup crowns. The 30-year-old Ronaldo is poised to become Real's all-time scorer ahead of former Spain striker Raúl, with whom he is leveled on 323 goals and has another chance to break the record in Saturday's La Liga game at home to Levante. Ronaldo has had a relatively subdued start to the latest La Liga campaign with 5 goals in 7 appearances. All 5 came in one match, a 6-0 ramp at Espanyol last month. He has a much better return in the Champions League, hitting 5 goals in 2 Group A outings, including a hat-trick against Shakhtar Donetsk. A global icon and one of the most prolific goal scorers of all time, he is the leading marksman in Europe's elite club competition with 82 goals, 5 ahead of Barca's Argentina forward Lionel Messi. Messi, who scored 58 goals in all competitions last term and 38 in La Liga, holds the record for the most in Spain's top flight in one season of 50, set in 2011 and 2012. The Queen and Prince Henry welcomed representatives from each of the 20 competing teams at the Rugby World Cup to a reception at the Buckingham Palace. England may have bowed out of the Rugby World Cup this year, but fair sportsman Prince Henry showed no signs of hard feelings as he welcomed stars from other competing nations to a reception at the Buckingham Palace. Harry was joining his grandmother, the Queen, in opening the doors of her London residence to welcome the athletes and other guests. Her Majesty's husband, Prince Philip, and daughter, Princess Annie, also attended last night's affair. Approximately 400 guests were invited to the event to celebrate those involved in the sporting tournament, including staff, volunteers, senior officials from the England Rugby 2015, Rugby Football Union, World Rugby and Rugby World Cup Limited. The Queen was presented with a specially commissioned participation medal. That's all for sports.
Hello, good evening. Time for the art segment. My name is Valerie Danso. VGMA Artist of the Year Stoneboy has again been adjudged Best Dancehall Artist at the 2015 edition of the African Music Magazine Awards, AFRIMA. The awards celebrate musical talent across the African continent. Stoneboy received 3 nominations at this year's awards and triumphed over fellow artist Shatawale, Timaya from Nigeria, MC Norman from Uganda, Bataranking from Nigeria, and Buffalo Soldier from Zimbabwe to win the Best Dancehall Artist Award. The premiering of the rebranded concert party saw some thrilling performances from Bisa Kade and comedian Asasi Aban. Here are excerpts.
The Smiling Band was the show opener. Then came the rib-cracking moments with Asasi Aban, a comedian. When Bisake Day, the Odo Carpenter man, took the stage, the audience could not resist his music. For the audience, it was a moment worth enjoying.
It's been a good performance, it's been a good organization, and I'm praying that the next time we do organize such a thing, more people will come and experience what I experienced.
So far has been good. I've had fun and I don't really want to leave Accra, but it's quite unfortunate that it's time and we have to go.
Bisakeda shared his joy with GBC 24.
It was so amazing how they responded to me, you know. Yeah, this is my first time performing on the concert party show, and it's just something else. So I want to say thank you to everybody who came. Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio will produce a film about the Volkswagen emissions scandal. His production company APN Way and Paramount Pictures have bought the rights to an as-yet unwritten book about the scandal. It is not yet known whether DiCaprio will star in the film. Last month, the German car manufacturer admitted 11 million of its diesel vehicles worldwide are fitted with software that beat emission tests. The defeat device allows cars to pass lab testing even though they actually emit 40 times the emissions standard. DiCaprio has produced a number of environmental documentaries, including the 2014 film Conspiracy, The Sustainability Secret, and Virunga, about the battle to save the last of the world's mountain gorillas. That's it for this segment. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Eunice. And that's it for News Hour, which came to you live from Broadcasting House in Accra.
Good evening.